Have you ever noticed that the more you speak your truth, the less peace you seem to have? It's strange, isn't it? You open your heart to family, hoping to strengthen the bond. But sometimes, the more they know, the more complicated everything becomes. What starts out as love and connection slowly turns into judgment, interference, or even quiet resentment. After 65, many of us realize this hard truth. Not everything needs to be shared, not because we have secrets, but because we've earned the right to protect our peace. I used to believe full honesty was the foundation of closeness, that telling my daughter Rachel about my medical checkups or letting my son Mark see my financial plans would bring us closer. But with time, I learned a quieter kind of wisdom. Peace doesn't always follow openness. Sometimes it follows silence, discernment, and healthy boundaries. And if you've ever walked away from a family gathering feeling drained, second-guessed, or even regretful for what you revealed, then this message is for you. Before we begin, if you're someone who values thoughtful conversations about aging with dignity, wisdom, and calm, consider subscribing to this channel. We're building a kind community of people just like you, who want to navigate these later years not with fear, but with clarity and strength. Today, I'm going to share 5 deeply personal things that older adults like you and me should think twice about sharing. If what we truly want is peace and a life lived on our own terms. Let's begin. Secret number 1. Your exact financial situation. Let's start with one of the most tempting, yet riskiest things to share after 65, your full financial picture. It sounds harmless, even responsible. You think, if I let my kids know what I've saved, what I plan to leave behind, we'll avoid confusion or conflict later. That's exactly what Gregory, a retired architect now in his 80s, thought when he invited his 2 daughters over one Sunday afternoon. Over coffee and pie, he laid it all out. Savings accounts, property deeds, pension details, and even a breakdown of what he intended to pass down to each child. At first, they nodded appreciatively. But in the weeks that followed, something shifted. Emma, the eldest, began asking, "Shouldn't you consider moving into a smaller place, Dad? It would help your health and your budget." The younger one, Lisa, started dropping hints about helping manage the bills, just in case. Gregory found himself constantly explaining why he bought a new armchair or why he donated to a local charity. He wasn't asking for their permission, yet it felt like he needed it. One afternoon, after being told a cruise he'd booked was not a smart use of money, Gregory quietly canceled the trip and felt a piece of his freedom go with it. Here's the truth. Once money enters the conversation, control often starts slipping away. Even the most loving family can overstep when finances are on the table. So protect your autonomy. Have your legal documents in place. Yes. Choose someone you trust for power of attorney, absolutely. But share the details only when it's truly necessary, and only with those who respect your boundaries. Because your money is more than numbers. It's the result of a life built brick by brick, and no one understands its value better than you. And if you're still watching, comment below. Do you believe full financial transparency helps or hurts family dynamics? Let's talk about it. Secret number 2. Your everyday health complaints. It's natural to talk about how we're feeling, especially with the people we love most. After all, when your back's aching or you haven't slept well in days, sharing it seems harmless. But here's the catch. What feels like small talk to you might sound like an alarm bell to them. Take Eleanor, for example. She's 74, widowed, independent, and still walks her Labrador, Max, every morning. One afternoon, she casually told her son Jacob that her knees were a bit stiff lately. No drama, no complaint, just a passing comment. But within days, he'd scheduled a doctor's visit, ordered joint supplements online, and called her every morning to check in. By the next week, he was suggesting she avoid stairs, stop gardening, and consider a part-time caregiver. Eleanor felt overwhelmed, not by love, but by the sudden loss of autonomy. A single offhand remark had quietly changed how her son saw her, from capable adult to someone in decline. This happens more often than we admit. You say, "I've been a little dizzy," and suddenly your daughter questions if you should be driving. You mention feeling tired, and now your grandson watches your every step, waiting for you to fall. The problem isn't that they don't care. It's that they care so much, they stop seeing you as whole. So here's the secret. You don't have to report every ache or sleepless night. Save the serious conversations for symptoms that truly impact your life. Trust yourself. You know when something is worth sharing and when it's simply part of growing older. Because the more you talk about what's wrong, the more your family may believe you're no longer strong. And if you're still with me, leave a comment below. Do you think talking about small health issues helps connection or risks your independence? I'd love to hear your experience. Secret number 3. Your opinion in family conflicts. You've lived long enough to see how quickly a small disagreement can snowball into a full-blown family rift. Maybe it starts with a parenting difference, a loan unpaid, or a holiday plan gone wrong. And as the elder in the family, you feel that gentle tug. Maybe I should say something. But let me tell you about Margaret. She's 78, the matriarch of a large, loving family. 3 kids, 7 grandkids, and a Sunday dinner tradition that stretches back decades. One day, during what she thought was a light-hearted moment, she told her daughter-in-law, "You know, when the kids were young, we never gave them so much screen time." She smiled when she said it, didn't mean harm, but that smile didn't land. Her daughter-in-law stiffened. The conversation ended awkwardly. And within a few weeks, Margaret noticed the invitations slowed. Fewer calls, shorter visits. She never meant to offend. But in family dynamics, even gentle opinions can feel like judgment. The truth is, when you step into conflict, even with love, you risk being seen as biased. One child may think you're taking sides. Another might feel betrayed. And once the lines are drawn, your words, however well-intentioned, can leave lasting scars. So here's the wisdom. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Instead say, "I trust you'll work this out," or "I'm here if you need me, but I won't take sides." Be the steady voice that brings calm, not more fuel to the fire. Because peace, especially in your later years, often means stepping back, not stepping in. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever regretted getting involved in a family disagreement? Or felt judged for staying silent? Share your story in the comments below. You never know who you might help by speaking up, right here, not at the dinner table. Secret number 4. Your regrets from the past. Everyone over 65 carries something quietly in their heart. A moment they wish had gone differently. Maybe it was a job they turned down, a place they never visited, a dream they set aside. And as we get older, those reflections tend to rise to the surface. But here's the tricky part. What feels like reflection to you can sound like rejection to someone you love. Geraldine, a retired nurse in her early 80s, once told her grandson Ethan during a quiet walk, "You know, I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had moved to California after college." Just a thought, a passing memory. But later, her daughter called her, sounding hurt. "So you weren't happy here, raising us? You regret staying?" That wasn't what Geraldine meant, not even close. She loved her life, her family. But that one sentence shifted the tone. Her daughter became more distant, unsure. And Geraldine realized too late. Sometimes our regrets land in places they were never meant to go. It's not wrong to reflect, but oversharing those regrets can make your loved ones feel like they weren't enough, or that your story with them is something you'd rewrite. So here's the truth. Not every "I wish I had" needs to be spoken out loud. Try saying instead, "I've learned so much from the life I've lived." That small shift honors the past without putting the weight of it on others. And remember, your family doesn't need to carry your what-ifs. They need your presence, your peace, and your quiet joy in the life you did live. Have you ever said something that was misunderstood as regret, even when you meant it as reflection? If that's ever happened to you, drop a yes in the comments or share how you handled it. Your story might help someone else navigate their silence with wisdom. Secret number 5. Your detailed asset distribution plans. We're often told that clarity brings peace, that if we just explain who gets what, when, and why, our family will feel secure and no one will fight when the time comes. But the truth is more complicated. Take Vincent, for instance. He's 82, a former small business owner with 3 children. Wanting to avoid future conflict, he sat them down and laid it all out. Who would inherit the lake house? How the life insurance would be divided? Even who would get the antique grandfather clock that had been in the family for generations? He thought he was giving them peace of mind. But what followed wasn't peace. It was tension. His middle daughter, Carla, asked why her share was less than her siblings. Didn't I do enough when Mom was sick? His youngest, Ben, started suggesting they sell the house now to take advantage of the market. And his eldest, Patrick, who had never shown much interest before, began calling more often, always ending conversations with, "Just making sure everything's still on track, Dad." Vincent felt it instantly. His intentions had been pure, but his relationships had started to feel conditional, like he was being viewed through the lens of what he'd one day leave behind. Here's the truth. When you reveal the full details of your estate too soon, you risk turning love into calculation. That doesn't mean you shouldn't plan. Absolutely do. Make a will. Appoint a trustworthy executor. Ensure everything is legally sound. But remember, you are not your assets, and your legacy isn't in what you leave, but in how you live. So share when it's truly necessary, not when guilt or pressure urges you. Have you ever seen money discussions cause tension in a family, or felt someone changed after learning what they'd inherit? If that hits close to home, type "seen it" in the comments. Let's speak the truth about this together. After 65, life whispers a new kind of wisdom. It tells us that peace doesn't come from being completely understood, but from understanding ourselves. That not every truth must be spoken, not every thought needs to be explained, and not every silence is emptiness. Sometimes it's strength. The 5 things we've talked about today, your finances, your aches and pains, your opinions during conflict, your private regrets, and your asset plans, aren't about hiding who you are. They're about protecting who you are. Your time, your energy, your emotional well-being, they matter now more than ever. You've spent decades giving, raising families, helping others, solving problems, and now you deserve the freedom to live without always being watched, managed, or misunderstood. You don't owe the world your full story, just the chapters you choose to share, with love, with intention, and on your terms. So if you've ever felt guilty for holding something back, take this as your permission. You're not withholding. You're preserving. preserving your dignity, your space, and your peace. And if this message spoke to your heart, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't just talk about aging, we talk about owning it with grace, power, and calm. And if you're still with me, leave a comment below. What's one thing you've learned to keep to yourself for the sake of peace? Your wisdom could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Until next time, take care of your peace. You've earned it.